What could be more evil than Nazis? Producer J.J. Abrams dares to imagine an answer. In Overlord, a thrilling pulse-pounding action adventure with an unexpected twist. Set in Nazi-occupied France mere hours before D-Day, Overlord follows a team of American paratroopers who come face-to-face with enemies unlike the world has ever seen. You have to see it to believe it. Don't miss Paramount Pictures' Overlord in theaters November 9th, rated R for strong bloody violence, disturbing images, language, and brief sexual content.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. It's Thursday. Brocktober. The revenge game for Brock Osweiler tonight. I don't know how you get revenge for somebody overpaying you millions and millions of dollars, but let's just go with that. Remember that Houston deal?
Yes.
The future of the franchise.
Oops.
Welcome into the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Andy, Mike, and Jason back again Thursday, October 25th. A jam-packed show. We have the fantasy forecast, starts of the week. Jason's boom boom kicker.
Oh,
so boom.
Greg the leg boomed.
Greg the leg boomed. Are you?
Did.
You're victory lapping your boom
Oh,
boom.
of course I am. Come on.
Well, it's going to be a good show. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Now, there's some questions that have come in from time to time. So Brooks threw in a quick question today about the concept of renting players. So we get these questions. People say, what do you think about the concept of renting players? So two owners say, hey, I'll trade you this player for that player, and then we'll swap back the next week because
I got a bye week here, you got a bye week there. It'll make both of us better.
Yeah, I mean, what does the voice of public opinion think about that situation?
But that's pretty cool because I can get better and you can get better, and isn't that good?
We can work together, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what the voice of public opinion's saying.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Here's the difficulty with it, because the way that I feel about fantasy football is we don't veto trades. You let people run the teams how they want to, and you only block collusion. But the way that I see collusion as a negative aspect of fantasy football is when two teams agree that one is going to take a really bad deal to improve the other team. This feels like collusion, but if both teams are in fact getting better for a week and then saying we're going to swap back, is that actually collusion? I want freedom in fantasy football, but it just feels so gross.
So
it feels unethical.
I'm diametrically opposed.
Right, but
I get it.
Talk through it. Work out why.
Well, part of it is, collusion to me is defined as cooperating in an illegal fashion. So it's not just for one team to benefit. It is illegal cooperation. Another version of collusion would be, two owners are working together to, try to disrupt another owner. Right? They're working together in a cooperating fashion to disadvantage another team.
But if both of the teams involved in that deal are actually making each other, if they're making each other better,
right,
they're doing the best thing for their team.
Here's an example, and let me ask you this, Andy, either as a commish or as a voting member of your league. Let's say because of bye week issues, one team was short on running backs this week and short on wide receivers next week, and the other team was the reverse. So they basically do a same-tier wide receiver for a same-tier running back trade this week, which by itself is fair, and agree to do the same trade next week, which by itself is fair. Would you vote no against that if you knew that this is a 2-week plan? You said you're diametrically opposed.
I would. It is too messy. It's not something I want in my leagues. Players have injuries. Things get really messy when you allow agreements.
That's an inherent part of the risk of the trade, and the people going into the deal understand that.
Yeah, and I just don't want it in my league. I don't want to have to navigate through a rule set that these owners,
Yeah,
and now I am the commissioner, and let's say an injury happens and one of them's unhappy with it, whether it's an inherent risk or not. I, as the commissioner, now have to enforce that rule and force the trade being back.
Right.
Just because I'm setting a new rule that lets you rent players, it sets a bad cooperation baseline for my league.
The
That's
way
my
that
opinion.
I feel about it is I would not veto any of these trades on a week-by-week basis. However, I would, like Foot Clan, if you're listening, I would, as strong as I can, recommend you stay far away from these. These are people getting too cute, too smart. They think they're being the best fantasy football owner because, they're planning, a couple weeks ahead, and you're making a huge mistake because what you brought up, injuries, things, every single week, fantasy football, the entire landscape of the NFL just looks so different. You are making a mistake if you're making one of these 2-week trades.
All of a sudden, that guy blows up on your team, and you really want to keep him.
And exactly, and what you or your opponent wants to keep him and won't do it back. What you can't do, you cannot agree, and I would be diametrically opposed to it. You cannot agree to a 2-week trade.
That's the key.
That you can agree
if it organically comes about. There's not much you can do about it. If two owners want to be best buddies in that sense.
Right. There's no, you can't say next week we promise to do this trade.
Right.
That is not allowed. So you need to have a precedent in your league if your league is dealing with this where it's like, hey, you go ahead and do this deal if it's a fair deal and it's not collusion. You do that deal. Next week you guys figure out if you want to do that deal because I'm not if you're the commission, I'm not pushing this through if someone wants to not do it and say, well, but we agreed. No, it's one trade at a time, and also this is a trash move. Don't do it.
Bad form, as
form.
Captain Hook would say.
Yes.
Peter!
So did you want to? I don't want to.
Home, Jack.
Mike, if you're on the other side, I want to give you an opportunity.
No,
to
I'm
speak.
with you guys, but
I get what you're saying.
But it's hard to get an actual rule that says why it just seems unethical. It's hard for me to explain it.
I think the 2-week trade thing is the key.
Yeah.
Not allowing a 2-week trade because that's what it would be.
The rule is you can't promise things in the future. That's the rule.
Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. And I'm telling you want to do it now. We talk about mustache players. You're going to want to stash the Fantasy Footballers podcast in your subscriptions on YouTube because in less than a week, our Halloween episode will be up. And look.
If you're a podcast listener.
You're going to regret not seeing what happens.
That day, next Wednesday.
Well, we have three guest hosts. I mean, we're all gone that day.
Yeah, we are taking that episode off. You will not want to miss it. We shouldn't even put it up on the podcast. We should force everybody to say, hey, you want to listen, you want to watch, you go to YouTube. 2
NFL players. And then one long and storied
NFL legend
will be hosting the show.
Perfect.
So I would I'd stash us there in your subscriptions. All right, FootClanGiveaway.com. You can win a signed Saquon Barkley jersey. And a reminder, FootClanVote.com. If you can jump in there, vote for us for the iHeartRadio Podcast Awards.
It is a day, and you need to do it every one of those.
Yeah, there are 7 days in a week, and you can vote for us in all 7.
Thank you for the reminder. I'm
doing it right now.
I forgot.
All right, well, we're going to get into the fantasy forecast real quick here today. Lots of great matchups this week. We want to break them down, help you win. Crucial time for a lot of teams, right? I mean, you're getting into bye weeks and navigating starts and sits becomes so much more important when you're deciding, who's filling in for missing players. But I got to bring the Krampus hype train up right now because Mike, Coach John Gruden says Doug Martin is ready to go as the Raiders feature back.
Of course he did.
With Marshawn Lynch on injured reserve.
I fully believe it.
It's just what I was talking about could happen. Do I think that Doug Martin is going to give you strong fantasy output? No. But this is why you had to at least stash him in deeper leagues because he could see opportunity. And there's a difference between Doug Martin and Marshawn Lynch. Doug Martin has always had pass catching in his profile. He had it back at Boise State. He had it early on in his career when he was a true 3-down guy, and he was just force-fed targets from I can't remember that coach's name, but the clown from Tampa Bay, who would rush people when they were taking a knee?
Greg Schiano?
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. But
It's Greg Schiano.
He was a clown.
Okay.
But regardless, he can be a 3-down guy where Marshawn can catch a ball because he's an NFL player, but Doug Martin's actually good at it. So it was.
Man, Mike loves Doug Martin. That's what
really
I'm
does.
hearing.
I'm just saying the opportunity could present itself for fantasy.
Is it
feel
possible? Let me ask you this: is it possible to leave? You know how you leave a grape out in the sun and it becomes a raisin?
Yes.
Is it possible to leave it out so long that raisin goes bad?
I think it
Or
just
is it
gets
just
hard.
is it just finished?
Well, here's
like
the problem.
It just completes.
If it turned into a raisin, it's already bad
Oh, because you don't like raisins.
because raisins are inherently terrible.
So you don't like raisins, but
Mike and Doug Martin are throwing the raisins out of the tree because they're sitting up in the tree.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Mike. It's ING. You love Doug Martin. Heard it here
I don't
first.
love Doug Martin.
this is coach speak. This is endowment effect. This is everybody John Gruden has had is great and amazing. Amari Cooper, you're the best. See you later.
I believe that
Derek Carr, you're the best. There's going to be a see you later there too.
they will. I do believe they'll give Doug Martin the Marshawn Lynch role. He won't succeed with it. Jalen Richard's role will increase. The reality is the Raiders, the Giants, these are teams that are now actively, without question, tanking. They're getting rid of their players for picks. They're playing for next year. And Doug Martin, being your starting running back, helps serve that purpose.
True enough. Don't forget you can check out Mike on Sunday Live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
With last-minute news, notes, information, start-sit decisions. You can submit your questions, and he will answer them.
10 minutes.
He is contractually obligated.
I have earmarked 10 minutes for Doug Martin on that show. Tune in.
So you have 20 minutes
third
to
of
ask
the
your
show.
questions, and then there'll be 10 minutes of slideshows, kind of like one of those wedding slideshows, all the moments that
Yes.
Mike has had with Doug Martin.
They're really good.
I actually remember when you traded Doug Martin after his 2 50-point weeks to acquire Adrian Peterson.
I know. I traded him right before.
Right.
But
And,
then-
that's right. And then you
I
thought
was
you
right
made a
before the
mistake.
Doug Martin breakout his rookie year. But then AP ran for 2,000 yards.
We're going to get into the forecast. Remember the Thursday night game, Dolphins at Texans tonight. Kiki QT is out. Ryan Griffin, the tight end for the Texans, is out. And I do want to share, I believe that Kenyon Drake is actually a pretty nice play today.
Really?
I do. And I don't like saying that. I'm just they're so hurt at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
And he's so capable in the passing game. Head coach Adam Gase has talked about using him in the as a lined up wideout tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Butthole says a lot of things.
oh, but maybe he's wiped. Maybe he is.
Oh, come on.
Maybe Adam Gase has wiped, and he's willing to use Kenyon Drake as the weapon that he is. And here's the thing: when did Adam Gase wipe away the Gase last year and use Kenyon Drake? When was it? Because he was a dominant guy second
when
half
there were
last year.
no running backs.
When there was no other option. And
No. When there was no running backs
Yeah.
left.
But I'll
Frank
take
Gore
it.
is infinite, and he is around.
I'll
is
take
all.
the narrative. He is infinite. He is all. He is Gore.
Fantasy Forecast.
If you do love the Drake and you want to play him tonight, put him in your running back spot.
Yeah.
It's Thursday, so give yourself flexibility with your flex spot.
A lot of players tonight that are that flex type of guy. Will Fuller, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Get him into the wide receiver.
We're not going to talk about it. We talked about him yesterday.
Oh, we will.
Oh, we are?
We
Really?
are, yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness. Foreshadow.
Teams returning from the bye: Packers, Raiders, Steelers, Seahawks. Teams on bye: Falcons, Cowboys, Chargers, Titans. If you play any of those players, expect lower production. The 3-4 Eagles take on the 3-4 Jags. The Jags are 3-point underdogs at home against Philadelphia.
Sort of at home.
Correct. This is a London game, and
It's their home away
if
from
they
home.
were actually at home,
You
I
sound like you're from London.
Thanks. That was really nice. Brooks, can we end the show? Can
Sure.
you wrap it up? 42.5-point over-under, London game. Don't make the mistake of forgetting about this and then waking up 2 hours after the game
And
started.
Melvin Gordon's in your roster.
Yeah, you know. Well, if Melvin Gordon's in your roster this week,
Yes.
you got bigger.
But if he was in your your lineup last week and you woke up
Yes.
too late. You went, wait, what happened?
Thankfully, I don't think there are any in this game. It always stinks when Monday nights or London games have injured guys because you just don't know what to do, and there's all the time tricks you have to play. Here, I don't think there's anybody we're really, really worried about. Nobody's
Right now.
desperate to play Darren Sproles. Yeah, I mean, something could happen later in the week.
So what will the Carlos Hyde-TJ Yeldon split look like in this game? Carlos Hyde will make his debut. No Leonard Fournette. Can you play Hyde, and would you prefer him over Yeldon?
I don't want to play either of these guys. First of all, it's a bad matchup. The Eagles are great against the run. You don't know the situation for sure. It's only narratives and guesswork to say who's going to be the guy. In my opinion, I think Carlos Hyde will get more work than TJ Yeldon, at least on the ground, because I think the Jaguars are disappointed with what they have without Fournette. Obviously, that's why they went out and got Hyde. But since we don't know, I'm not starting either of these guys. It's a poor matchup, and either one could end up with 5 touches total.
I agree. I'm avoiding them. But if I'm projecting it out, I see Carlos Hyde more as a Leonard Fournette light, and TJ Yeldon, he'll get
passing down work.
He'll get passing down work and maybe 8 carries on the ground.
The Eagles' cornerbacks have allowed the second most fantasy points to outside wide receivers. However, every time we ask whether you can start a Jaguars wideout, we have answered differently at different points this season. For a while, it was Cole. For a while, it was Westbrook. For a while, now people are leaning Moncrief. With Blake Bortles back behind center and this team having just scored, this is incredible, Rich Rebar. They've scored on 4 of 35 possessions in the last 3 weeks. That is the lowest rate in the league. They are struggling on offense. They are underdogs in this game. Are you steering clear of basically any other offensive piece on this lineup?
I am. If you want to play the game of 3-card money with the wide receivers,
go ahead. Be my guest.
Yeah, be my guest. But I'm guessing that the actual card is up someone's sleeve, and you're just going to feel really bad by the end of the game.
On the Philadelphia side, we have had the torment that is the running back by committee, Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, and last week Josh Adams as well. How are you feeling about that? They're going up against, obviously, a very stout defensive front, Calais Campbell and company with Jacksonville. I'm just not excited to put them in my line. Like, I have to decide between Corey Clement and Carlos Hyde in my Dynasty half-point league. Right now, Hyde's in my lineup, but I'm not comfortable with either.
Right now, I would be playing Corey Clement because Wendell Smallwood is banged up. He's missing practice. Monitor that situation, of course. But
that makes a huge
You could
difference.
end up Sunday morning that it's just Corey and it's Josh Adams, and that changes things because you go back to the first game without J.J. Both Clement had the better production because he had the touchdown, but both him and Wendell Smallwood were sharing carries. There's at least an opportunity for those guys if it's not 3 running backs. Otherwise, if it is the 3, I guess you start Corey of the 3.
Jalen Richard or Corey Clement this week?
Jalen Richard.
Richard.
Against Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think he'll be used in the passing game.
Yeah, the Raiders are going to be catching up.
How do you feel about Wentz? He's right now he's our QB 16 on the week.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not a QB1 this week in a bad matchup across the world against Jacksonville. But he's Carson Wentz. I mean, he is a
birth
star.
certificate says so.
Birth certificate ensures that he is Carson Wentz. No, but he's a superstar, and he has gotten it done against tough matchups. I have a situation where in our Dynasty League, I'm playing against you, Andy. I'm starting Carson Wentz over Blake Bortles. Matt Ryan is on bye, and so I'm forced into the situation. But I don't think, I don't see this as, oh no, there's no chance that he has a good game. So I'm okay rolling him out there. But there are, I would much rather, if I had Andy Dalton available to me, someone dropped him because of his poor week, there's no doubt that I would play Andy Dalton.
I'm going to go Pat Mahomes against you.
Nice.
Yes, you are.
Producer extraordinaire Brooks has updated me. There was an update on Wendell Smallwood's status. He missed practice for personal reasons. So this was not injury related.
Okay.
So
now
expect him back, and it's now
back in the murky mud.
Now back to Cerebrus.
Gave me a little bit of hope.
I apologize.
You've stolen it away from me. All right, let's talk about the 4-3 Ravens taking on the 4-2 Panthers. Panthers 2-point underdogs. Is this accurate? Home dogs against the Ravens?
Against the Ravens? That makes sense to me.
I know.
I'm
I would expect
surprised.
this to be more of a pick'em line, like
Yeah.
Panthers -1.
I mean, the Panthers just went on the road and defeated Philadelphia. They're at home. I'm very surprised. Is this I wonder if this is due to some of that the reports about the shoulder
For Cam?
of Cam Newton, and to monitor him in practice. I do not find that line to be what I expect. Man, so let's talk about some of the storylines in this game. This is projected to be a more low-scoring affair. We know about the Ravens' defense. This game's in Carolina. It's a 44-point over-under. Baltimore's allowing 2.3 red zone possessions per game. That's crazy. Carolina's allowing 2.5 per game. That's 4 red zone. Four red zone
boring game.
Yeah.
possessions. So your guy, basically what that means for fantasy is your guy has to be the one to get the score. You will have
The
less
score.
Yeah, you'll have less opportunities. So can Cam survive in this game, Jason? You pump the brakes on him. Then we get some news that he's sore. He made all the throws in practice, but he's sore.
Yeah, I mean, he can survive because he could very well be the goal line back that gets the touchdown. So, again, he's very similar to Wentz to me, and they're near each other in my rankings. There's a lot of guys I would rather play over Cam this week, but if you have to roll out Cam, he can always get it done. I don't expect a lot from this game. I don't like Funchess. I don't like John Brown this week, a guy that was my start of the week last week. I'm not a big fan of Michael Crabtree. I just don't think there's a lot of assets here that are going to work out well. If you've got Alex Collins, he'll get enough volume. He's really been the guy. He's not been doing much with it, and this is not a good matchup. But
yeah, the Ravens, they've only given up one quarterback, one performance. That was to Andy Dalton when he was able to throw 4 touchdowns. I think Cam is safer because that's not his bread and butter when it comes to fantasy points. Let's talk real quick about Greg Olsen. He's seeing basically 100% of the snaps. He's back to Greg Olsen, where he's an Iron Man and never leaves the field. 30-plus routes run in each of the last 2 weeks.
That's the only area where the Ravens.
Anything.
Yeah, it's the only area where the Ravens' defense is not ranked in the top 5.
Yeah,
they're top 5 against quarterbacks, running backs, and wideouts in terms of fantasy points allowed. That's just a matter of something. You got to give up points somewhere. We don't really have him in that top 12 this week. There's just not a lot of confidence because of the factor, low-scoring game, right? I mean, limited opportunities, a lack of confidence in Cam Newton in this matchup. So, there's so many other options that I think I'd feel better with. Higher upside.
This is a game I am trying to avoid for the most part. I wonder if my favorite player here is Greg Olsen, who is currently not. I don't believe he is in my top 8 at tight end. So I'm not that excited. I would look for other games to be a part of.
John Brown, another big week last week.
Yeah.
Would you play him this week?
I would. I'm still fine.
John Brown or Philip Lindsey asking for a friend?
Lindsey.
Yeah, Lindsey's got the backfield to
doubt.
himself. I know that answer already.
Close.
Yeah.
Lindsey takes on Kansas City without Royce Freeman.
My only concern there is they end up getting absolutely boat raced, and it becomes all Devontae Booker.
Yeah, last week
Can't become all Devontae.
Last week we saw a changeover in that department quite a bit. We saw Lindsey out there for all 3 snaps after the Royce Freeman injury in a lot of third down circumstances.
Right, when they were crushing the Arizona Cardinals. I'm talking about if the game script flips and they're doing is throw. I'm just saying it's an actual concern to think about.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not Lindsey's
Booker
locked-in
in
running
that
back one.
situation. He's not going to have it to himself. But if Freeman's out of the way and they need to score, Philip Lindsey will be doing work. And I like that. Hey, before we get to our next matchup, want to thank today's sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the premier app and website that you need to use when you want to go to a live event. Live events, they are awesome. They take it to another level. If you're watching on TV, you see all the commercials. You see the get down to the games. They are fantastic. Mike just got back this last week.
I did.
From the awesome Thursday night football game. And SeatGeek is what you want to use to get your tickets. They search multiple ticket sites, so you know you're getting a great price. They show you that color-coded grid to help you easily find the best tickets quickly. And every purchase on SeatGeek is fully guaranteed, so you can shop with confidence. We love using it. We've talked about how easy it is. Download the app right now. And best of all, our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app, enter promo code FOOTBALLERS today. That's promo code FOOTBALLERS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
Footclan, never forget the name Pristine Auction, the best sports memorabilia website in the known universe. This is where we get all of our signed jerseys, like our man Stefon Diggs, newest asset to my dynasty team, fellas. I think Brooks knew. That's why he put him up on the wall. I appreciate you, Brooks.
He may be coming up later in the show for somebody.
Yeah, because he's on my dynasty team now. But hey,
Yeah, that's how we base the show contents.
there's hundreds of new things up on Pristine every single day, so it's always worth having a peek over that lunch hour, seeing what you can get. And you get deals and steals like a signed Devontae Adams jersey, $73. A Matt Breida jersey, just $44, signed by Mr. Breida. Check all this out and more at Pristine Auction, PRISTINE auction.com. Make that completely free account. When you do it, let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
All right, the 3-4 Jets take on the 3-3 Bears in Chicago. The Bears are 7.5-point favorites in a 45-point over-under. Yesterday, I pumped the brakes on each and every Jets offensive player. But let's talk about your guys' opinion on Isaiah Crowell. What is he rest of season?
Volume.
What is he in this matchup?
Pert Plus. Wait, no, Pert Plus is dandruff. Who's the volume shampoo?
I don't know.
Hair is more your department, Mike, so I don't think we're going to be able to jump in there.
I'm sticking with Pert Plus. Then.
Okay.
Yeah, Isaiah Crowell is a running back to the rest of the season, but he has been banged up, and you have to keep that in mind with him. He's definitely going to play, but he is limited, and this is not a great matchup for him. So this week, I'm not super high on Isaiah Crowell, but look, if you've been playing him this year, you've been pretty happy with the results. Bilal Powell out of the way, Elijah McGuire not back yet, so the volume will be there. He's going to be similar to a Lamar Miller that you've seen this year where, hey, he's getting the work. It's not always exciting, but you could do so much worse than having to start Isaiah Crowell. So, I think every week he's going to be in your lineup.
The one area that both of these defenses have struggled is fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. The Jets, 29th in the league, giving up 36.5 a game. The Bears are actually 26th in the league, giving up 34 and just under 35 a game. Where's your excitement level? Allen Robinson, a very disappointing week last week. He's dealing with a groin injury. Where are you distributing your shares here in this game at the wide receiver position?
It's not the wide receiver position. I think Trey Burton is the person that gets the biggest bump up from Allen Robinson being a little bit hobbled. I see him as the number 2 target here, and the matchup is not terrible. So I think we've also seen the connection start to grow in this scheme with Trey Burton. So, he got off to a slow start, but in reality, he's been very solid this year and was great this last week. I think that's the primary beneficiary.
Mike, you agree?
Yeah, I would lean that way as well. But if we got to speak strictly to the wide receivers, if I'm playing anyone from the Jets, it's just Robbie. I'm going for the big play. I'm not looking for any volume, hoping that Curse, who has a bad cornerback matchup, or anyone can come through. If you're going with the Jets wide receiver, it's touchdown or bust. And then over on the Bears side,
I will say this: Robbie Anderson might not even play this week.
Yeah, he didn't practice.
He didn't
Wednesday.
practice. He's got an ankle injury. You could actually.
Oh, that's right. He got banged up
You
with
could see
Rhodes.
Rashard Matthews forced into action alongside Jermaine Kearse.
fair point. So
Rashard Matthews season.
So I'm avoiding the Jets. The Bears wide receivers, they feel like it feels like Jacksonville, where you're just guessing because it should be Allen Robinson, but he's dealing with a groin. He was very disappointed this past week. Anthony Miller is interesting because the Jets are giving up over 28 fantasy points per game to slot wide receivers, and But then there's the big play of Taylor Gabriel. So that's where I'm just – there's no surefire start from the Bears, even though they're putting up tons of points. This week.
On a traditional week, Allen Robinson is the better
Yes,
start.
absolutely. And I would just throw in the fact that this is a Kenyon Drake type of situation where when your primary wide receiver is injured and, there's no other dominant force here, Tariq Cohen has been more and more involved in the passing game. He gets a bump up if Allen Robinson is hobbled, just like Trey Burton does.
Cohen's a must play.
You're seeing Matt Nagy implement – look, Trey Burton, he's that Travis Kelce role. Tariq Cohen, he's Tyreek Hill role.
Right.
That's the utilization, the ingenuity that you see from that offense is using players to their strengths. That's why Mitch Trubisky has been competent. And even more than that, exceeding expectations in terms of fantasy production.
You're playing Jordan Howard, but what are your expectations for him?
I'm not playing him guaranteed.
Ooh.
Why would I? If I had Phillip Lindsey, I'd be playing Phillip Lindsey.
Okay. Jason, where are you at with Jordan Howard?
He has not earned an every week guarantee on my team.
He's not earned an every week guarantee, but I'm still fine starting Jordan Howard. He's gotten the touchdowns. He had a second touchdown almost back, last week that was called back. He hasn't – I mean, he's still getting the work, and he himself is talented. This is not a team that terrifies me. They're completely middle of the pack against running backs. They're at home. They're favored by more than a touchdown. This is a week I feel like you can absolutely start Jordan Howard.
He's the 32nd ranked running back right now.
Yeah, he's been disappointing.
14, 9, 17, 3, 6, 12. No 100-yard games. John Brown or Jordan Howard in your flex?
I would go Jordan Howard.
Brown.
Yeah, me too. 3-3 Buccaneers take on the 4-3 Bengals.
Yeah, here we go. Juice.
54-point over-under. The Bengals are 4.5-point favorites at home. I'm really quite all in on the Bengals this week. Not that that's always paid off historically, but at home.
Not in prime time.
Not in prime time. The Bucs are working on the triple crown of being dead last in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed to the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the tight end position.
They're so close. You can do it. Tampa,
you can do it. So, look, you're starting Dalton. You're starting Mixon.
Yep.
You're starting Green. You're starting Boyd.
Yes.
You can start Uzama inside your top 12.
Yes, the Buccaneers it's free points for the tight end position.
So then we expect Andy Dalton to get back on track.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of Andy Dalton this week. Going home out of prime time against the Buccaneers, you can't overreact to bad weeks. And then there's certain players where you know that you're going to have bad weeks. Andy Dalton is one of those.
And last week was very unfortunate.
The amount of times, last year going into the season, Andy Dalton was one of fantasy, not just this show, but a lot of people, one of their favorite late-round quarterback picks. The early season schedule looked great, and he was beyond bad. That week one, I think he threw like 4 interceptions, had negative points, was atrocious, and so everyone left him for dead last season. The second half of last year was great. So you've got to be able to put your blinders on when it comes to the red rifle.
Do you believe that this could be a trap game for some of the offensive pieces on Tampa? Right now the Bengals, by the metrics, are not great on defense.
Yeah, they've been allowing a lot of points.
Peyton Barber very likely to miss this game. Ronald Jones has gotten all the work in practice, but done nothing with it. Done nothing with the work he's had in actual games. Where are you with Ronald Jones?
I think you can play him.
Yeah, I do too.
I think you can play him as a running back too.
I see him more as a running back 3 with maybe the upside. I'm not
Ronald Jones versus Jordan Howard.
That's a great question. Ronald Jones versus Jordan Howard.
I would play Ronald Jones.
I'm going to still be Jordan Howard starter.
Okay,
but
so
it's close.
You expect a big workload for Robert for
Ronald Jones, yeah. And the over-under is juicy. The Bengals ranks 28th against fantasy running backs. I'm chasing the matchup if I have to choose between Howard and Jones.
Are you comfortable with anyone on the Tampa offense outside of Evans in terms of the wideouts?
Yeah, I'll play Deshaun Jackson. He's been perfectly fine. I know he had the dud this past week against Cleveland, but 2 weeks ago it was 4 for 77. 3 weeks ago it was 5 for 112. He's still boom bust Deshaun Jackson. We were hoping that with what he was showing with Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe we were over that. But then you watch the game, and Jameis Winston at least changed it up this past week because we saw him overthrow D-Jax, but then we saw him underthrow Deshaun Jackson.
That was a new one.
So it was new. So maybe we're going to find Goldilocks, and he'll go, I don't want to over or underthrow him. Perhaps I will throw the ball directly to him.
Comfortable with Jameis Winston, Jason?
Yeah, I am comfortable with Jameis Winston. I think he's a good play this week. I actually really like O.J. Howard as well.
Yes.
O.J. has been great, and we talked about this back in the Ryan Fitzpatrick days, if you can remember back, if you're old enough to remember those days. We talked about how Ryan Fitzpatrick was great for the wide receivers, bad for the tight ends. Jameis always, we've got a large enough sample size to know that he really utilizes tight ends in the middle of the field and is not quite as great. So I think O.J. Howard I think we're really seeing him in the middle of a true breakout. I think by the end of this year, coming into next year, I think Jordan Howard's going to be seen as like a top 5 locked guy.
He'll be in like the 5th, 6th round.
For those disappointed in Tyler Boyd last week, a reminder, he runs 70% of his routes in the slot position. The Bucs are absolutely atrocious in defending the slot receiver.
Some might say the worst.
The worst. They are. Look, I was trying to be nice.
32nd best.
Trying to be nice.
32nd best.
Atrocious.
Yeah, they were the 32nd best. In fairness, that's against the slot. They're also bad on the outside.
Right. Inside, outside, upside, inside, downside.
The good news is Gerald McCoy probably won't play.
Oh. The 3-3 Seahawks take on the 3-3 Lions. Lions are 3-point home favorites, 49.5-point under, and this is
Andy's almost upset of the week.
Really?
I'd like to see the Lions get on track, but coming off the bye week, I think Seattle takes care of it in Detroit. So, Russell Wilson back from the bye, Chris Carson, Mike Davis, Rashad Penny.
Let's start there.
Yes.
Is Chris Carson still the starting running back for this team?
Yes, and he's healthier now.
That's how I'm projecting.
Thanks to the bye week. So I think you can start Chris Carson. How do you feel about Doug Baldwin? He gets a week off, which I think is important, right? Like,
yes,
he had an okay game, but are we expecting a return to glory for him?
Yeah, I moved him up higher than the normal consensus ranking. I think that Doug Baldwin is going to get back on track. He's the healthiest that he's been the whole year, and that was really what was ailing him the beginning of the season. I like Doug Baldwin in this matchup. The Detroit Lions are not, I don't think that they're going to have anybody shut him down.
Well, he should avoid Slay for the most part because he's the slot corner. Slot wide receiver.
Right, and Slay might be doing the Tyler Lockett dance,
right,
which is going to make Baldwin all the more important. Being on the road as well, the Detroit defense will play better at home. So I think Doug Baldwin is a fine play, and people will be scared to play him because he's been absent. He's hurt you once, helped you once.
Second halves, man. Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. Are we expecting a post-bye, upgrades to both players?
Yeah, I think so.
Health is really going to help him out.
Right now, Russell Wilson has been obviously really disappointing on the season.
Yeah.
Not enough pass attempts, not enough opportunities. So that's kind of the scary part about playing him. He's on the road here. He faces Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in 5 consecutive games, but he's thrown for less than 218 yards in 2 consecutive games. What is the kind of growth of the running back production, Kerryon Johnson, done to Matthew Stafford? Is that the direct reason why, or just some bad luck? Had the touchdown called back last week?
Yeah, just a couple off games. Yeah, exactly. Kenny Golladay was so smooth, had a touchdown, then did not. So I'm still fine playing Stafford. I'm not I'm not freaked out by the Seahawks defense when it comes to starting my quarterbacks.
So I am a little bit. And here's why. I think that Seattle has done what they wanted to do. I don't think Seattle's a great team. I think that they will be, they'll finish very disappointed for what their expectations were. But they have been able to run the ball. They have flipped the script to where we're a running team. If they know we're running it, we're gonna run it some more. And because they've had enough success there, it's really taken away a little bit from the game flow, from the high scoring games. And it's kind of shocking. I asked you this yesterday in the studio because I was really surprised. Who's the team that's giving up the fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position in the league? And it's the Seattle Seahawks.
Sure, but I will counter that with Case Keenum, Week 2 Mitch Trubisky, Dak Prescott, Josh Rosen, and last week Derek Carr. That would be my counter argument to that.
Well, sure. I mean, Mitch Trubisky Week 2, but then now he's been great. He just got better.
Yes, because they changed the offense. Mitch Trubisky decided that he was actually going to air it out. Mitch was terrible through those first few games, Jason, as you so eloquently explained.
I would never have said that.
I feel like those 5 names are like you get dealt a hand of cards and they're all 2s. Somehow you have 5 2s.
So going up against that juggernaut run-through of gauntlet of quarterbacks, I'm not surprised they're ranked number 1 against the quarterbacks.
Time of possession matters. Washington does this. Seattle does this. Slow the game down, limit opportunities. What is your adjusted expectation for Marvin Jones, who last year was the number 10 overall fantasy wide receiver? But Kenny Galladay's there. Golden Tate has been great. Marvin Jones, rest of the season is what?
His potential is almost the same as it was last year. To me, the big difference, last year we had talked about the touchdown regression coming from Marvin Jones. He was connecting on almost every single deep shot that Matthew Stafford took. You call it a 50-50 ball because he's got allegedly 50% chance of coming down with it. This year, he hasn't been coming down with them as frequently. So he's still that wide receiver 3 guy who can absolutely explode because of touchdown potential.
All right, the Broncos take on the Chiefs. Broncos 3-4, Chiefs 6-1. Chiefs 10-point home favorites, a 53.5-point over/under. I recommend starting your Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good. What are the big question marks in this game for you guys, storyline-wise? I mean, is Devontae Booker an actual flex-worthy option in PPR leagues because of, the things you said? They're 10-point dogs. No Royce Freeman, most likely.
Yes.
Booker is so pedestrian as a talent, but opportunity is everything.
He is so well said, Andy. Just so pedestrian. Look, last week against the Arizona Cardinals, they if you don't remember, they destroyed them.
It was 14-0 in about 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean the idea of running a 2-minute offense was over 2 minutes into the game. Devontae Booker, that's his role, and so he didn't have that role. It didn't exist. But prior to that game, if you look at, while the Denver Broncos were struggling in their 4-game losing streak when they were down, Devontae Booker was, he was on pace for over 50 receptions. So in this game, they're going to be down.
Yes.
Kansas City's going to be scoring. I think if Freeman is out, Devontae Booker in a PPR league is an okay flex type of start. I really like Phillip Lindsey. I actually think he's going to have a great game. The defense here doesn't scare me. Phillip Lindsey has balled out pretty much the whole season, and if Freeman isn't there to help split, that's just giving him 5 extra touches.
Lindsey is a top 10 candidate for me this week.
I would have him just outside, but great opportunity.
Top 11, Mike?
Yeah, sure. I'm looking on Pro Football Reference, and they frequently have a player's nickname when you look at their bio.
Oh, dear. Who?
And Devontae Booker could not have a better nickname. I've never heard this, so I don't know if this is actually...
Let's hear it.
Book mode.
Book mode?
Yeah. Want to talk about...
So instead of beast mode, you are more of the librarian.
Like he could not have a more perfect name.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I'd
like to turn the page on Booker.
Oh!
All right. Maybe return it. Maybe return the book.
I think another question in this game is
you should have.
Yeah, I should have stayed where I was
first
ahead.
one. It was good.
I think another question in this game is Case Keenum. I am of the belief that he is a very good streaming candidate this week. I realize it's in Arrowhead. It's, the Kansas City defense usually gets better second half of the year. They've got a good pass rush. So it's not a home run. I'm not saying, hey, you got to pick up Case Keenum, but there's a lot of people that are struggling and they need that streamer. Last week Case Keenum had a down week, but that's because again, they were up by 1,000,000 points in 2 seconds, and Emmanuel Sanders got to throw one of the long touchdowns. He still threw a long touchdown bomb in that game, and now he's going against Kansas City, 26th against the quarterback position in fantasy points given up. He's got the weapons to try to keep pace, so I don't think he's a top 5, top 10 guy, but he's going to be someone that in a pinch you can stream.
He put up 245, 0, and 1 in his home game against Kansas City. You still confident?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Again, this is like
it's a really bad streaming
quarterback.
week.
15 is kind of where I see his ability to finish.
Sammy Watkins is on pace for 59 catches, 790 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is a bleh sandwich.
Yes.
Is this what he is now?
He's kind of boom or bust. I mean, if he has a great game this week, I won't be surprised. But
he's the fourth option on the team.
Yeah, you don't want to start him.
4-2 Redskins go to New York to take on the 1-6 Giants. This is a pick'em. Did that get switched over?
What?
So it was a Redskins favored by 1, right?
Wow.
So the Ravens, the Ravens are a much better team than Washington, but that's.
Well, the Redskins
That's
are
interesting.
The Redskins are very, very banged up. Chris Thompson limited again. Jamison Crowder likely to miss. No Paul Richardson last week. The Giants, if they did anything last week, is they stopped the run, right? And Adrian Peterson's kind of been the time of possession controller. Give him 1,000 carries, sneak out a win guy for Washington. And last week, Tevin Coleman and Ito Smith struggled. Intensely against the Giants.
Part of the reason why is because I think Snacks Harrison
but Snacks is gone.
A really good defender. Oh, yeah, he's gone for a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Eli Apple, gone. The fact that this line is even, I mean, that's crazy. You got a 4-2 team coming in against a team that just sold 2 of their better defensive options. With Snacks Harrison out of the way and a backup in the place of that on the D-line, this could be an Adrian Peterson week.
Well, I mean, the Giants are probably getting the respect because they brought Corey Coleman up from the practice squad.
First rounder.
Look, New York.
He can buy some more sneakers.
New York, we know what you're doing, and I respect it.
You going for that number 1 pick?
Yes. You have embraced who you are. You're going full force, doing what you got to do.
If you're going to tank, do it this way. Make your defense terrible.
Keep starting
spectacular
Eli.
That
fashion.
way you have to you can still score points and lose. That's what we want for fantasy football purposes.
Only one player. I think Barkley's in the top. Not Barkley. I'm sorry. Beckham is in the top 5 right now in touches per game. He had a big week last week. They actually drove the ball downfield a little bit. Eli Manning found not just Beckham, but Sterling Shepard, 150-something yards that he threw for 400. He's at home. Look, this offense runs through Barkley and Beckham over and over and over again, and they get theirs.
Josh Norman.
Yeah, but Josh Norman's been very beatable this year.
I
did want to bring it up. Beckham going up against Norman, but they're going to force targets Beckham's way. How do you feel about, the 2 studs on that dud of an offense? I looked this morning, and they're 26th in the league in points scored.
Yep, I'm still playing him, though. Saquon's a must-start. Odell is a top 5 option every week.
What about Shepard with the big game last week despite Evan Ingram's return?
Yeah, it is interesting. You don't know if that was, Shepard or Ingram kind of getting reacclimated in, but the reality is Sterling Shepard has been very necessary and good for Eli Manning. I mean, you've got 7 targets in 5 consecutive games. I think that, this to me is a lower scoring game. Even with the holes on the defense of the New York Giants, there are equal holes on the offense of the Washington Redskins. So, I'm not going to start Sterling Shepard if I can avoid it, because I don't think this is going to be one of those games where they're going to have to play catch-up like they did against the Falcons.
And I take a different approach. I think the Giants are going to win the game. And Washington's allowed wide receiver 3 or better scoring production to a pair of teammates in 4 straight games. So that would be Beckham and Shepard. If I believe, which you don't, that the Giants are going to be, able to win this game, be competitive, then I do believe Shepard is interesting. Jordan Reed, is he still a tight end 1?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
Starts of the week.
All right, it starts of the week for Week 8. Strict no Jermaine Kearse policy in this week's edition.
No pivots. Robert Woods was great.
I know. Robert Woods was my start of the week until – anyway. Well, I'm not going back there, Jason.
Okay.
That's a dark and
that was
dreary
your fault.
That is the swamp of despond that I emerged from maybe yesterday. I might still be in it. Let's start at the quarterback position this week. I'm going with Andy Dalton against Tampa Bay at home. Tampa's 32nd best, as you would say, against opposing quarterbacks. They give it up. And, look, Dalton's going to get back on track this week at home against Tampa. This is they're fighting for that division, and I really, really like Andy Dalton to connect with Green, to connect with Mixon and Boyd, and have a solid performance.
I'm going to go with Big Ben Roethlisberger coming off of the bye. Look, this is a guy that was cut in a lot of leagues last week because of the bye and his upcoming schedule.
Yes, thank you,
He had
Jason.
the bye. Then this week, I love it. But then Baltimore, Carolina, Jacksonville, it's tough. And you say, yes, thank you, Jason. I was an example. I needed to cut Big Ben.
And I picked him up.
And you picked him up. Big Ben is my start of the week. Coming off the bye at home, we've talked about for years, home Big Ben versus road Big Ben. He's had 3 games at home so far. Against Kansas City, 48 fantasy points in 6-point scoring formats. Atlanta, he had a great game. The only bad game he had was against Baltimore, who is pretty much the best defense in football right now. I think coming off the bye at home against Cleveland, a team that tied them in week 1, I think you're going to see a huge game. Monster numbers from Big Ben.
My start of the week is Jared Goff. Jared Goff, he gets to take on Green Bay. What, we have a sound effect? Oh, for King Garfrey.
Now introducing King Garfrey.
He's taking on Green Bay. Get that over under. This is the vote of confidence for Jared Goff, because he's a tight end or quarterback 1, but it's not been great for Jared Goff's fantasy output. Just barely over 200 yards the past 2 weeks, only 3 touchdown passes the total the past 3 weeks. But I expect a lot of scoring in this game. I like all the receivers for the Rams, and that's because Jared Goff's going to have a big game.
All right, a running back start of the week. I'm going with Philip Lindsey at Kansas City all by himself.
How dare you disparage book mode?
Yeah, book mode is no, thank you. Running back 1, Philip Lindsey this week. I think, look, you can go ahead and try to buy into the primetime Kansas City defense we saw against Cincinnati, but the 6 weeks before that, here's what they've given up to the running back position: 46, 21, 40, 35, 24, and 40. Philip Lindsey has all the juice. Like if there's a 100% juice, like 98% is Philip Lindsey and 2%
There's no concentrate.
Is book mode. And Philip Lindsey 2 weeks ago, 7 targets, 6 receptions. I've paid close attention to him over the last couple weeks. He's out there on plenty of third downs. It's not a Booker guarantee. And look, you want to win, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to win the game, you give it to the guy with juice, the electricity of Philip Lindsey. He's a good player.
Yes.
He's a really good player. Had a big week last week. I love him this week.
He's very, very fast as well. I believe Philip Lindsey in standard leagues is my number 13 running back, so I really like him. I'm going to go the start of the week at the running back position. I've got even higher than Philip Lindsey at 13. I've got him as a running back 1 this week. It's Marlon Mack. And yes, 2 weeks ago you go, well, it wasn't Marlon Mack. It wasn't just him. But that was when they were getting boat raced by the Jets, and then there's a lot of passing work, and Nyheim Hines was involved. He still had a good game. He got 12 carries for 89 yards 2 weeks ago. But then this last week, when they were up against Buffalo, every time that we're looking at the screen with the Colts game on it, how many times were we like, oh, Mack's breaking away another run. Mack's breaking away another catch. He had a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown through the air, 19 for 126. Coming into the season, I did a lot of work on the Colts running backs, and I came away very confident that Marlon Mack was the guy to own. Unfortunately, injuries derailed his entire beginning of the season, and now he's back. And yes, I agree that in the games where they are down, it won't necessarily be the right game script for Marlon Mack. I don't think the Oakland Raiders are the team that's going to be like, watch us destroy the Colts. So I think this is a good game script, a bad matchup as far as the defense across being able to stop Marlon Mack, and he is well-rested and on fire right now. He's my start of the week.
My running back start of the week is coming with a strong asterisks.
What?
Asterisks. I can't say
Is that
it.
multiple asterisks?
Yes. If you look at the show, Doc, I
see.
have multiple.
Mm-hmm.
It's Colonel Mostert, Raheem, man, I'm having a tough time over here. Raheem, Mostert, he's got the Arizona matchup, and the reason for the just slight concern is Matt Breida. I don't believe Matt Breida is going to play this week, and if Matt Breida is out, then Colonel Mostert is the primary running back against the Arizona Cardinals, who are getting absolutely eviscerated on the ground. Mostert was the primary running back last week. As soon as Breida went down, he has juice. If you watch him play, he's got speed, he's got burst. Arizona won't be able to stop him, and I think that he is a nice plug-and-play running back, low-level running back too, if Breida is in fact out.
Mostert.
Yes.
All right. I will go with a wide receiver start of the week of Stefon Diggs, taking on New Orleans. Brought it up yesterday. He's 5th in the NFL in touches per game. He's due for a big game.
Is that at the wide receiver position?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing is he's overshadowed by Mr. Automatic 20 points, Adam Thielen. But when you give a player that many touches on a regular basis, one with the talent of Stefon Diggs, that opportunity will, your production is going to return to the mean there. You're going to have, I believe this with Julio Jones. I know it's a joke and he never scores. Look, he's had 8 touchdown seasons, 6 touchdown seasons. Julio Jones is going to score this year. He's going to return to the average. Maybe it's only 3 times, but it's 3 over the next 8 games. Stefon Diggs is going to have some big games. It's this week against New Orleans.
Yeah, no, I love that. I hope people listened. He's a great buy low candidate off the last 2 weeks, and if you got him, put him in. My start of the week at wide receiver is 100%, I guess I would say 75% due to injuries, and this is Will Fuller, the 5th. Will Fuller is an electric talent. We've seen it last year. We saw it start this season, right? His first 3 games.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
He was a target machine,
too. Touchdown. But then Kiki Cutie came in and said, well, I'm always open too.
He said, circle, circle, dot, dot.
Yes. So
is that the cutie spot?
Cutie shot, yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
Shot. There you go.
Very nice.
Got to protect
with
yourself.
Kiki Cutie
Frightening.
out, with Ryan Griffin out, and with Will Fuller being taken off the injury report because he was dealing with some hamstring issues, I think this is a perfect matchup where Will Fuller tonight, if he gets his customary long bomb touchdown, I'm expecting that. That is really, and I think he's also going to be used enough to be north of 5 receptions. This is a guy that only needs 2-3 receptions to still have a good fantasy day. If he's got 6-7 receptions, Xavier Howard is going to be dealing with DeAndre Hopkins. I think Will Fuller is going to be a great play this week.
My start of the week is Julian Edelman from the New England Patriots. Since he has returned from his absence, he is averaging 8 targets a game. He went right back to being the number 1 wide receiver for, or I should say the 1A with Josh Gordon being the 1B. For Tom Brady, and Josh Gordon has a very tough cornerback matchup. What's the health of Gronk? If Gronk even plays, is he 100%? And we know from history that when Gronk is banged up, Julian Edelman starts catching touchdowns, has a touchdown reception each of the past 2 weeks. I think that the offense will have to pivot a little bit to Edelman's favor. It's a little bit harder to run on the Buffalo Bills, and they're without their star rookie running back, Sony Michel. So I think that Jules he's got the possibility of seeing double-digit targets in this game with touchdown upside as well.
All right, let's talk about the tight end position. My start of the week is David Njoku against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 30th in the NFL against the tight end position. Njoku has a building rapport with Baker Mayfield. And get this, he's the number 3 tight end over the last 3 weeks. So much like O.J. Howard, you're seeing the emergence and breakout of David Njoku. Both of those players are going to be top 6, 7 tight ends next season.
Thank goodness. We need some of these young tight ends to stop making the tight end landscape so gross.
This is the next generation. This is, much like Kelsey and Ertz had their breakouts together. I think you're going to have –
and Captain Picard.
Who did I say?
It's the next generation.
Oh, there it was.
Come on, fellas, keep up. Keep up.
But
I'm 5 steps ahead.
Gotcha.
I think you might be 2 steps behind, Mike.
I see.
What? That's a really good current reference, right? Star Trek.
I remember being a kid.
TNG, my man.
And my parents watched that every week, and I would try to
nerds.
No, that was the jam back then. You weren't a nerd. You were just. You were hanging out with Riker and Jordy.
Oh, me and Jordy.
My parents watched it as well, and
I'd sneak up.
Loved The Next Generation.
I would hide behind the couch.
It's probably my favorite show.
So that I could.
Really? Your favorite show?
For a while,
Is it the nostalgia, or have you tried to rewatch it?
Oh, goodness. I'm afraid to ever rewatch it.
Don't do it.
No, it's probably terrible.
Don't try. At least not in the – I tried to do that a couple times to capture the nostalgia of my childhood. And then I was like, oh.
I think it was the age where it was like, oh, this isn't a kid show.
Yeah.
I'm watching like a grown-up real show, and it was kind of cool.
Oh, space.
Yeah.
The final frontier.
Exactly.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. All right. I went Njoku. Jason, you're going back to the kitchen.
I'm going back to the kitchen. Get this, I'm going to go with a tight end who over the last 3 weeks combined has 30 yards.
Ooh.
And 6 receptions.
Yeah, sounds like a winner.
He might be on your waivers coming off of a bye, but he might not, considering he's also the tight end 6 on the season thanks to the crazy week 1 and week 4. It is Jared Cook. Jared Cook will be the primary beneficiary of no Amari Cooper, of having to face Andrew Luck and being probably down. I think that Jared Cook has a great out-of-the-bye week performance. He's a must-start. I would take him even over these other guys that I love, O.J. Howard, Njoku. Jared Cook, to me, is how he doesn't get 7, 8 receptions. It just seems impossible. Where else are they going to throw the ball? I know Jordy's getting a bump up, but Jared Cook has to have a major bump up this week.
My tight end start of the week, O.J. Howard. He gets the Cincinnati matchup. They're giving up the 3rd most points to the tight end position. That defense is absolutely a mess, and O.J. Howard has not. The breakout is real, and he's been extremely consistent. 54 yards. That's the fewest yards he's had in a game, besides, of course, the injury game, which I'm not going to hold that against him. That's very consistent yardage for a tight end. Always has touchdown upsides. I love O.J. Howard this week.
You tried to trade for him.
Those were the starts of the week. Just one more important segment.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
I got a pick this week that'll come in quite handy. Scoop up and play the Bengals kicker, Randy. Me and him.
That would be
we're on a first name basis.
That would be Randy
That would
Bullock.
be Randy Bullock, but you rhyme Bullock. I tried for a while. To get Bullock, and I just couldn't find anything that was good. So, Randy it is.
I have a personal vendetta against Randy. I've had to stream him twice this year, and both times he was, on paper, a great play. The matchup had a huge over-under, lots of scoring. Got me 3 points both times.
Yeah, he wasn't my boom either of those times. So
dirty Randy.
You picked wrong.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Back with the rest of the Fantasy Forecast tomorrow, and enjoy the game tonight if it's possible for October returns.
Check out draft.com/ballers to play some daily this weekend. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.